Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Maker Space. We got Meet the Maker and a really cool guest this week, and I'll introduce him in a second. But before we get going, I just wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are out there. We are blessed to have all of you in our lives. I did a video this morning and I said, you're underappreciated, which you 100% are. But I appreciate you, and I hope your children appreciate you as well. But thanks to all the mothers out there, and happy Mother's Day to you all. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to the Dolica King himself. I have mine ready. Kieth the Knife Freak. What's going on, Kieth?
The original OG Dolica right here.
There he is. He's got it. He's ready.
Lanyard and all.
You got it all fixed up, ready. I can't compete with you, but I have mine, so thank you very much.
Custom thumb stud. Dolica style.
I did not customize mine. I got OG thumb studs on there. How are you this evening?
Very well, very well. Had a great Mother's Day. Took mom and mother-in-law to dinner. Actually had my brother there too, so we had a great dinner. And yeah, it's been a good day. I spent actually most of the morning out in the shop today working. So
hey, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than that. So let's say hello to everybody who is in here. I saw Brian F. Hello, Robert Feely, channel member, Marco, Warroom EDC, channel member, moderator. What's going on? Stevie's in here. Hey, what's up, Stevie? Thanks for popping in, man.
We got the rough sound in here tonight.
Yeah, we got a full house. Joseph S. What's going on, Joseph? Tim B. What is up, Tim B, moderator? Yes, Tim B probably dropping the link. Sobik Scooter, what's going on? Mountain St. Cheetos. Cheeto got us again. Addicted to Blades 2, what's going on? Bryant Redbeard, channel member. Hello. Trouble Bunny, what's going on? Thank you for all your support, Trouble Bunny. El Cap, what is up, my friend? All right, look at this. Man, we got everybody in here. Sean, what is going on, channel member? Keith once butt dialed me while he was taking out his mom's garbage and working on her water heater. Solid son. Yes, he is a solid son, I am sure. That name sucks. He gets us with it every time, though, Stevie. He gets us with it every time. Every time I see it, because it's a new picture. So you're like, ooh, who is this new person? And then you're like, oh, man, Cheeto Bandito got us again with it. Always fun. True story. That is a true story, Keith?
Yes, it is. You know what? I don't even know how his name got to the top of the list or wherever it came from, but literally I was fixing my mom's water heater and walking, taking her trash off the curb. I was done. And next thing you know, my butt is saying, hello, Keith. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I looked at, here's Stevie on my phone.
and Stevie will just sit there and listen to whatever's going on.
I don't know.
I already know, Stevie. He's like, oh, I'm using this. I'll use this down the road for something. Let me sit here and listen to what's going on.
It's been recorded, and yeah, it'll be somewhere.
At least it wasn't video recorded, because that would have been replayed over and over again somewhere.
Absolutely.
Troy, what's going on? Hello, welcome. All right, so we got Keith here. And the reason I asked Keith to do this, because number one, he's an amazing member of the community, but as you guys know, he's not only the Dolica King, but he the gateway to the Dolica Club, but he is also an absolute great knife maker. And being the maker space, I reached out to see if he wanted to come on and talk, and because I want to highlight makers. And me and Kieth talk offline all the time, bouncing things back and forth, just updating each other on just some of the things that we have going on, and I appreciate that. I like following him, he follows me, and it's just kind of like one of those things that where we just can lean on each other if we have questions. He's doing some really cool stuff with handle materials now, which is pretty exciting. So we're going to get into all of that. So hopefully you guys are ready for a really good chat. We're just going to sit back and chat knives and making and all kinds of different stuff. And we've already been chatting for 30 minutes offline and we'll just continue to do that.
Yeah, we got to start at the beginning again. Don't want everybody to miss everything we started with, right?
Yeah, no, we'll have to go back to it, I'm sure. My most used and carried knife in the past 2 years is my Kieth Fixie. Shout out to the Dick Mittens crew. All right, awesome. Stevie, I know you've shared that many times. He's got, that's like the Hunter, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'll make you big.
This is what is my envision of, so I do a lot of whitetail deer hunting. That's primarily what I hunt in the fall. And you need a small knife to basically clean the deer out. And this is basically what I've come up with. You don't really need a huge knife to do the job, but you need a sharp knife, and this kind of fits the bill. It disappears in your hand when you grab it. I mean, it's not really a 4-finger knife, but plenty of purchase on it. Pinch grip it or tuck it right in your hand, and yeah, you can get a lot of work done. So
yeah, as someone who's an avid hunter, I'm sure the thought of field dressing a kill, etc., will come into consideration when you're designing that, right?
absolutely. It's kind of what you think of first, at least for me anyway. It's what I think of first. Like, I need something utilitarian. And I've always kind of been a function over form kind of guy. So, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. And that's why Spyderco's never really bothered me too much, because they fit, they work well, and that's what I want first. So
yeah, no problem with that. Kelly's Mishmash, what's going on? Yeah, I have no issues with Spyderco's. I like Spyderco. I think some people, when they're first getting into knives, they look at a Spyderco and they don't really understand that design and the hole and everything else until they get one in their hand. And then once you get one in your hand, then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense now. That was my experience. When I finally was able to handle one, I was like, okay, wait, I get it now. I totally get it.
Yep.
But
absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny how if you're making a knife, you're making a knife to fit your kind of lifestyle, where that blade that your Hunter fits your lifestyle. And then something like this fits more my lifestyle, where I am not, I've said it before, I'm not an avid hunter or anything like that. And I've never been, but I feel the need to carry a small little fixed blade for some of my little cutting needs that I have. So it's funny how that kind of fits most of my daily tasks on a daily basis.
And this obviously could be used for a multitude of tasks, right? It's a great little knife. So,
absolutely.
Like Stevie said, it can be definitely multi-purpose, but
oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's cool. I've had one here. I've had one of your Hunters here for a little while, and I was able to experience it. And it was really, really good. Blade Walker, what's going on? Congratulations to you, my friend. You're doing really well. I'm glad that things are working out for you. But so what got you, as we go to the beginning, what on earth got you started into making a knife? I think I kind of, with what we just talked about, I have a feeling that probably stems from it. But what got you started into making knives?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll even do better yet. I'll go a little farther back than that. A little quick story is though. So I was born and raised on a farm, which my uncle and my dad always carried a pocket knife, pretty much Barlow's, right?
Yeah.
And so I always had a pocket knife. And then, but I progressed with the times and found out that a pocket clip was real handy. And then one-handed opening knives were real handy. And so anyway, I've always been an avid knife carrier, but I was never really an enthusiast. You know, I knew things like blade centering, but I never really, you would look at a knife and see that it wasn't centered, but that's as far as it went. It's like, man, that's kind of odd. But kind of unfortunate story. My dad passed away in 2015. And when he passed away at the same time, I had lost the current pocket knife that I was carrying. And I had it was a strange circumstance where I had actually a couple of weeks off. It was during Christmas. He passed away on the 20th. So anyway, I had some extra time and I went to, I believe it was Cabela's knife shopping. I just needed another pocket knife, and I always like smaller knives. Anyway, I went shopping, but I also went on went on YouTube and started looking at some videos, which I'd never done before, and came across a person by the name of Nick Shabazz, and watched a few of his
interviews. Yep.
And watched his, and then that's how I ended up on Instagram, because I know he was going live, and I thought, man, I just would like to see this live. But anyway, so at that point too, I was kind of in the knives anyway, but what led me into the actual building is, at the time I had moved into a condo, and I had a one-car garage in the condo, but it was brand new, and I had nothing to do. I didn't have to mow the lawn. I didn't have a lawnmower to take care of. I didn't have any house maintenance to take care of because it was a brand new condo. And so I went downstairs, and I had actually, in the garage, it was a really deep garage. So I built a workbench in front, and I'm like, I can build a knife. I watched Forged in Fire, you know, and I could do that. So I went out and got a design, and this is the first one I built. And this was out of a file, and it was a big, thick. This is like nearly almost a 1/4 inch. Wasn't what I actually wanted, but it's what it turned out. And I actually ground this with a file. I annealed the steel and put the bevels in with a file. It did some different things, but this is basically just a pry bar. It's ugly. At this point, it's not really even sharp, but I put it together.
Yeah.
And, but it was something I could do in a small bench in a one-car garage, and I put it together. And then I thought, well, that's really stupid. So I had a smaller file, and I did a smaller knife with a file. And actually, this was pieces of bone that I had gotten from a razor shop. The guy was rebuilding straight razors, and he had some material that was convex, and he couldn't use it. So I put the smaller one together, and I actually added the little finger grip to it, and it turned out pretty well. And so I made a few of those, but they were time and tedious. And then I did buy a 1x30 Harbor Freight grinder that I was able to fit on my little bitty workbench. And then the story goes on and on and on. Now I have since then moved, and I have a garage, a detached garage that was supposed to hold a car, but it's kind of turned into my workshop. So
yeah, I mean, and that's hilarious that you started. How long did it take you to do that one knife with just a file?
Oh, I worked on it for weeks.
Yeah, like constant, right? Because I mean, a lot of filing with a jig, right?
A lot of filing, and most of it was hand filing. I didn't even use a jig. I did end up putting a jig on it, but yeah, just hand filing it, and yeah, it took forever. But and then I was messing with the finish a little bit, trying to do something different to finish it, you know, because again, I didn't have like a surface grinder or anything. But yeah, I figured if I could stick through and get that one finished, I could do anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there's people today that's how they do it.
Yeah,
And they're knife makers, and they just use files to do their knives.
which is
I don't
amazing.
know.
Yeah,
Good on them, because I do not have the attention span to be able to do that. I think if that's how I started, I probably would never have gone on to continue to do it.
right.
Even the 1x30 was much better than trying to do it by
Yeah,
hand.
oh, absolutely. I got the 1x30. Like, wow, gosh, I can really take off some material with that thing.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I started with the 1x30, I was almost scared of it at the beginning,
Yeah.
because it was like, wow, this can go bad real quick if you're not paying attention.
So then I made the big leap right all at once. I just said, both feet in all at one time, and I bought a 2x72, and now you can really screw things up, like right now.
Oh, I remember when you got the 2x72, and I was like, holy cow, that's awesome. And I remember you putting it together and all that. You were posting all that stuff on that, and I was so jealous, because I was like, oh man, that is so cool. Because at the time I was me and my honeymoon phase with my 1x30 was pretty much over.
Right.
And I was like looking for something better than what that was. And I saw you got that, and I was like, oh man. But then I started looking at MySpace, and I'm like, no, there's nowhere for me to put that.
Yeah. I mean, they take, it's, I mean, they're not huge, but they do take up an amount of space. That's for sure.
Well, it's not just that, because it's also the belts and you have to take all of those things into consideration.
And actually, I do have kind of a belt storage problem myself. I don't really have a good place to put them all, and so that's kind of been a small issue. But I'm willing to suffer with it.
It's always something. And then like what you just found out with the water, and then the dust, and it just creates, you think one thing is going to help solve a problem, and then it just creates more problems that you have to try to solve.
One solution is just more problems, is all it is.
I've said it over and over and over again, that knife making is all about solving problems, because that's all you're doing, is you're solving. You know what the outcome should be,
right?
But you're trying to solve the problem to get there.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, it seems like I spend as much time doing things other than knife making to be able to make knives. Even this morning, to wet grind, I obviously have to have an air compressor, and I have a small air compressor, and it developed a leak. So my goal was, when I got up first thing this morning, was to start grinding on that knife right away and get it ground out so I could finish it off and have it done by this afternoon. And I turn on my air compressor, and it's leaking air. And now I have to take this air compressor apart to find out where the leak is so I can get it fixed and put it back together. So I didn't even start grinding knives until, I don't know, it was like 11 o'clock this morning.
Yeah. I mean, that's
the garage at 7:30. So
yeah, and that's the things that you run into all the time. You're like, okay, here's my goal, and then you're like, well, not doing that. I got to figure out something else first. El Cap, I think he uses Edgy. I don't remember what Edgy uses. I've seen him on that. It's like a 4x48, or I don't remember. He has like the wide belt.
I don't think it was a wider belt. He's just basically got that's just a smaller grinder. I'm not sure exactly what one he has.
I forgot what he has. Or does he have like a 2x43 or something, like one of those weird ones that's really tall with the belt that comes up?
You know what I've seen now is, you've seen they have the 3x78s, I think.
Yeah, I've seen those. Ridiculous. I mean, if you're trying to go fast, that'll, if you know what you're doing, that'll move some material. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I found out I'm spending more time turning that motor down slower so I don't screw things up. So
Yeah, me too. I have learned that once I started getting into the higher grits, that I can slow that belt down and just to really refine my grind lines, etc. Because
yeah.
I'm still working on it. This is a work in progress. I'm still doing stuff. So,
And what I still the one thing I don't have yet, and that's going to be in the near future. I don't use a grinding jig right now. I've been freehanding it, and I'm as much as I've tried, I am not a freehand grinder. The people that do it are talented beyond belief, but I really need to just get a jig and be able to put some better grinds on. That's why all my blades end up being a full flat grind, because I chase my mistakes until there's nothing left. And
there's nothing left. Yeah, it's
so,
it's definitely a skill. I for one, I use a jig. I've been honest with that from the beginning, and I have tried to do some stuff by hand. Just like maybe I'll throw like a 400 grit belt and just try to clean some grind lines up. And even then, it's difficult to do. And I'm even like if you're shooting for a nice clean belt finish,
yeah,
then freehanding is good. That's why I do a lot of hand satin finishes, because it hides all of my mistakes.
me too. You end up grinding out those small mistakes with by hand sanding, and it's a lengthy process. This chef's knife I'm working on right now, the one I posted today on Instagram, it's fighting me ferociously, and
Oh yeah.
at this point, it's just got to put the time in and hand sand that off and take away the few little steps. I even finished off. I had I don't know, about a 250 grit belt, and I was trying to just smooth it out, and I was just chasing it. So
yeah, I mean, on something like that, then a nice hand satin finish is probably what you were looking for on that kind of a knife anyway.
Oh, it'll look good either way, but yeah, it's going to look great. But it just, like I say, it would. I don't know. My ultimate fantasy is someday I'll be able to take it right off the belt, and it'll look good enough. It'll look good so that you can just say, "Hey, here we go."
Yeah, that would be amazing. I just did.
Instead of 4 hours sanding to finish up what you screwed up with the grinder.
Yeah, because it is nice. I just finished up two skeletonized blades that I'm going to be dropping this Wednesday, probably. Just so you guys know, the 2 gargoyles that I finished will probably be up on Wednesday. But I did a belt satin finish on them, and it actually turned out pretty good. I don't know if do you have a Scotch-Brite belt?
I do.
So those are wonderful for cleaning that stuff up without ruining stuff.
Yeah.
I would do Scotch-Brite by hand.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I bought the grinder, I did get a variety pack from Combat Abrasives, and it came with Scotch-Brite and just a whole ton of belts that half of them I haven't even used yet, but there's so many options. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's all a matter of how much money you want to spend. And belts aren't cheap.
No,
blades for you, yes. You will not be disappointed in this thing. That is for sure. You will not be disappointed with your downdraft. It is awesome. Awesome.
Did everybody get in on the downdraft?
Yep. Look, Keith's got the hat. He's got the hat. He's ready. Yeah. He's got the hat. Yeah. Hopefully you guys all did. I think the only ones that were left was the what was it? The aluminum, that aluminum handled one. I think that was the only one that he had. The silver aluminum one was the only one he had left. I'm super happy for KC. That was the best drop I think he's had. So that's awesome.
That one went really well. Unfortunately, I did not participate in the drop. Spending my money on other tooling materials. So Kydex sheaths are next on my list that I am working on. So
yeah, we were talking about this, and it's funny. I was talking to other makers and who are into folders, because there's a lot of makers who just aren't really into folders. War Room EDC, War Room and I go to this knife meeting, which, by the way, Chris, it's next week, just so you know. We started going to this knife meeting again, and it's funny how the makers are really not up to date at all with some of the folders. They just don't have a clue. But it's because what you just said, when you at some point with your making, you get so focused on your making point that you're like, okay, oh yeah, well, I'm going to get this tool and I'm going to get that tool and I'm going to do this so I could do this. And you start to get focused on that, or what knife you're going to make next, instead of, oh, I'm going to buy this pocket knife.
Right.
It's a weird dynamic, but you get to the point where you're like, ooh, I'm going to start doing Kydex sheaths. I need to buy a press, and I have to buy Kydex, and I have to buy eyelets, and I have to buy a tool to do the eyelets, and then I have to get a special drill bit to drill the Kydex, and then a press and this foam, and how am I going to heat the... And like I said, you become a problem solver all over again.
Yeah. And it's funny too, but it's again, pocket knife for me is mandatory carry. I cannot go to work without a pocket knife. I don't go anywhere without a pocket knife. It's literally one of my top considerations. But the more and more I get into the making, the less I want to think about pocket knives, and I just want a good pocket knife in my pocket and not worry about it. And I'm not necessarily interested in chasing the newest, latest model. So it seems to go towards more of a high-end knife that I can rely on, that's good. And I'm content with that, knowing that I'm spending my time other places. So.
Yeah. I'm the same. I always have a knife, but I always feel the need to have a little fixed blade on me, just, for my little cutting needs that I have. Sobek scooter, yes. Most makers start with fixies because we like things easy at first.
Folders are a whole nother realm.
I mean, I think Donnie Bless started with folders. God love him. But when you start getting into folders, that's a whole nother ball game of making that's beyond anything. Even something as easy as a friction folder is still a difficult thing to try to wrap your head around, the folding of the knife. So yes, most custom makers do fixed blades because it's much easier to figure out.
I mean, it's really like going from a scooter to a car, right? I mean, a folder takes so much more. And I would like to do, I will, it's not happening anytime soon, but I will be doing some friction folders. It's not on the radar yet, but I will be doing some friction folders. So
that's awesome. I have had a couple guys reach out, and they have said they would show me how to do their folder. They do folders, and it's hard for me to even try to comprehend but they make it sound easy. So I would love to try it. Yeah, Jim. I don't know if you see Jim's comment. I went to buy a Kydex kit on Amazon. Doggone, it was a lot of money, and that's like bare bones.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what all was in that kit, but man,
I did look. I mean, I did some shopping before I got what I got. And if you go to knifekits.com, you can buy the kit ready to go. I mean, it comes with Kydex, the grommets, everything. It comes with everything. But their deluxe kit was like $700. Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, blades for you, I get it. Fixed blades aren't everybody's cup of tea. Yeah. When they carry a fixed blade, I personally ran into some issues carrying a folder for my job where some of the things that I was cutting was getting into the pivot, and I found myself having to clean out my pivot on my knife weekly, sometimes 2 times a week, just because the pivot was getting clogged with materials that I was cutting. Plus, I was dealing with a lot of corrosive materials, which was even worse. So that's why I started carrying a small fixed blade, and that solved my need. But not everybody needs a fixed blade. But I think, in my opinion, having something small, like primary little fixed blade that you can use on a daily basis would help with a lot of everyday tasks. But I understand that not everybody is into fixed blades, and you're good with just something like a good folder. That's all you need. And shout out to TRM for sending me this TRM Bulldog with the contoured handles. Oh gosh, I love this thing.
That's a good one.
Yep. And they're family. They're family now. They're family. They share the same last name as I do, so it's kind of funny.
I'm trying. I still don't carry a fixed blade, although my job is kind of a little different, so I kind of got to be careful what I have. So for me, primarily a folding pocket knife is what I have to carry. And then it's going to be minimal at that. So most of my pocket knives are relatively small.
Yeah.
And I've just appreciated the convenience of, and I've always said this, for me, it doesn't even have to be a locking knife. I have 2 specific features. It needs to be one hand opening, one hand closing, and a pocket clip. So I can get in and out, do my cut, and I'm done.
Yep. Yeah. Jim Miller, try cleaning a deer or a hog with a folder.
Yep. Jim, I'll tell you what, it's been done.
Oh yeah, it's been done.
And then then you take it apart and clean out. But yeah, it has been done.
I was the first. Are you saying me, Scott, that I was the first drive-up bank teller with a fixie and I revolutionized the industry? I'm a bank teller to you, okay? Yeah, I got this in. This is the Ace Farley, and it's a slip joint. And as much as I appreciate the slip joint thing, I'm like you. I would rather just use one hand to open and close a knife. And but I do appreciate all the work that goes into something like that. Yeah, but it's just not my cup of tea.
If it was
not
just
my cup of tea,
I'd be happy if it was one hand opening. That's my only issue.
There you go, blades for you. You work in a metal shop and I have fabrication, work tons of metal shavings. I pivot clogged a few times, not much. Yeah, I'm dealing with a lot of powders, and I work in the pool industry. Just so everybody, I've said it before. I work in the pool industry. So when you're cutting open bags of salt and Demetrius earth and stabilite or cyanuric acid and acid and chlorine and all of those types of things, it doesn't work well with unless you have a good knife. So
good for blades.
I had an assisted Kershaw that my wife got me when I first got that job, just something I could beat on, and I ended up having to take that thing apart so many times just to clear out the pivot that I was like, I can't do this anymore. And the pivot was a free spinning pivot, and it was just a nightmare. So I did the fixed blade, and problem solved. Yeah, Buck 110 has cleaned more deer than possibly fixies. It probably, that wouldn't surprise me a bit. They go out not prepared. All they got is their Buck 110, and nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong. It'll get the job done. What is that?
That's designed by Matt Gentry from Gentry Custom Knives. He had a build along contest, and he put this design out, and we all built the knife. Now, this is not the one I did in the competition. The one I did in the competition I actually sold, but This is just a small, he calls it a shop scalpel. So it's really small, but kind of a cool little knife. And yeah, it was one I had put together. I had gotten some of this cool heart palm wood. And I don't know if you can see it, but on the ends too. Came out really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Gentry Custom Knives, he does some really killer stuff.
So he lives about an hour and a half away from me. And I have visited his shop several times, and he's really a great guy, and his knives are flawless. They're absolutely stunning.
Absolutely. The pig splitters or hog splitters are absolutely insane.
Yeah, those things are insane.
The high polish that he's able to get on some of that stuff too. Yeah,
well,
I've seen his work is ridiculous and I like that he did the challenge, because that's where this came from. When I did this was the challenge, that Simple Little Life.
Yes,
he did, and I just kind of adapted it to my little design. But he did that little talon shape, and this was a challenge, that's for sure. That wasn't a fun. That's why this is the only one I've ever done, because that thing got so thin. It just goes to nothing. That this thing still scares me to this day.
I saw that when he was doing that build along with that too, and I was going to get involved. I was going to do it, and like many other million projects, there was no way it was going to get done. So I did not do that one, but I kind of wished I had now.
Well, I did it after the fact. I think once I saw what other people had done, and I wanted to do it when he first did it, but after I saw pictures of what everybody else had done, I was like, oh, well, I might be able to do something better than what they did. And these people are the professionals or whatever, full-time knife makers. I did it, and I was kicking myself because I probably should have maybe put this into that build along. It would have been awesome. But that was this taught me a lot. But one day I'll make another. One day.
It's kind of funny when Gentry did the build along for this knife, he was going to pick the best one that he liked, and then he was going to do a small giveaway. And the funny thing about that is it rolled into all these companies were donating to his giveaway. And one of the main prizes of the giveaway ended up being a 2x72 grinder.
What?
And once that got out, then a lot more people got involved, because he was kind of showing the stuff that was being given away. And it started out as just a simple little, build along project. And it's kind of funny, as I started watching these people that were doing it. Now you had professional knife makers joining in on this what was supposed to be kind of a build along for the beginner, right? And the guy that actually won it was another good knife maker, BP Custom Knives. And he got that grinder. And to this day, I message him and tell him that was supposed to be my grinder.
Yeah, Brandon Park does good work too.
Yes, he does. Yeah. And so when he shows his grinder, the yellow one, I can't remember the name of it, but that was supposed to be my grinder. So
there you go. And like, he needed another grinder because he already had like 2 grinders.
Yeah, he had one already, I think one, but yeah.
He's Brandon Park does amazing work too. Yeah, does really good stuff.
Yep.
What's up, Mike? I saw somebody who popped in. I wanted to say hi to. I forgot. Where'd you go? Mike J, what's going on, man? I hope you're doing well. Very, very cool. So you're getting into Kydex. Have you started that yet, or are you still setting everything up?
So I got all the materials. The only thing left I have to do is actually build a press. And it was for this knife that I already showed. This is a knife I built for actually a buddy of mine that I work with. and he wanted a Kydex sheath. And typically I've had leather sheaths made for my knives, but he wanted a Kydex, and not too many people are willing to spend their time. Other makers, and I completely understand, don't want to spend their time, making sheaths for other people, including yourself. So I just, I was like, it's time to bite the bullet and get into that. So I still have his knife, even though it's done. I need to get working on getting a sheath made for that, and my first Kydex sheath will be for that knife. So I have to make the press, and then I have all the materials ready to go. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it's just another thing. Good question, Scott. Could you Tormek a blade instead of a belt grinder with the stone, like a sharpening stone? Are you talking about that kind of Tormek? It would probably take you a very long time, and you'd probably end up ruining that stone trying to remove all that material off.
Tormek, they don't cut that fast. I have a copy of a wet wheel grinder, and they do a great job, but they're not for setting profiles. You'd be all night long.
Yeah, you'd be there. Well, Kieth the Kydex Freak.
Yeah, well, that has yet to be seen. Maybe I'll post some of my first tries and post those up, and we'll see how they go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and going back to what you said, like, when I don't mind doing doing sheaths is not my favorite thing to do, but it is a pain in the butt. And I've had a negative experience with a knife maker who didn't do his own sheaths and didn't do this and didn't do that. And it just took forever to get that knife. So when I got into this, I was like, I want to be able to do everything as much as I can in-house. Yeah. So I taught myself how to do everything. And I knew when I did the taco sheath for my Dust Devil, and I put that out there, that I was probably going to get some people reaching out asking for it. I didn't realize I was going to get as many people reaching out that wanted it. And as much as I would love to have extra time to do Kydex sheaths for everybody's knives, I had to put an ixnay to that, because I just don't have the time to work on just sheaths. I have a lot of needs and wants right now for just my work, let alone all these other sheaths. So,
and I just wanted to be able to provide a sheath with my knives. Most of the people that buy knives have a custom leather sheath made for it, and I don't even want to spend the time learning to do leather work.
Yeah,
but I wanted to be able to provide something, and obviously there aren't that many options. So Kydex was definitely the choice that would be hopefully easiest, fastest, most cost effective, that I could at least provide a sheath if they wanted it.
Yeah. So, and leather work is I think that you're either cut out to do leather work or you're not cut out to do leather work. And I have tried it, and one day I'll try it again, but I'm just not, I didn't enjoy the process, put it that way. My ADHD kicks in, and I just want it done. And you have to wait for this, and you have to wait for that, and you got to wait. And I was like, I can't do this. So for all of those people who do leather work, Trouble Bunny, thank you very much. You do amazing stinking work. But I don't think I could sit there and hand tool all the lines and all that stuff that went into like doing something like that. That's for sure. I just had to pull that out to show off because it's awesome.
Scott, I don't think there really isn't that many people that are like offering Kydex services. With this knife here, I was looking for somebody to do a sheath for me, and and I didn't press anybody for it, but it's like nobody really offers it either. So
people
that are doing Kydex are doing it for themselves, and they're not willing. They don't have the time, and I completely understand. They don't have the time to do everybody else's Kydex sheath.
Grizzle Bear Leatherworks. I know he does Kydex.
Yeah.
Mad Yoko is starting to do Kydex. I think, and I'm not taking any credit for that at all, but once I put it out there that, hey, I can't do that, and I did kind of like a how-to Kydex video, which I'm the last person who should be doing any kind of how-to videos of anything. And I truly admit that I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of playing it by ear, and I just kind of do stuff. And I'm lucky to be able to produce the things that I produce. But I kind of did that because there is a market for people to send in their production blades, like the Dust Devil, that has the pancake sheath, but getting that taco sheath changes the complete profile of the carry on that knife, where Kieth has the original sheath, and you're cutting basically that in a quarter. So the height is cut by a quarter. And not everybody likes to carry that way. I get it. But there is a market for people to do sheaths. I just can't be that guy.
And I completely understand. Again, with limited time I have, I try to focus on what I need to do, and it's not working on other people's projects. So
yeah. I mean, I can barely keep up with my projects. The last thing I need is a pile up of, I got to do 15 sheaths for these people. Because then I have their knives here, and I don't need that pressure. I got enough. I put enough pressure on myself with some of the stuff that I'm doing. I don't need extra pressure like that. So I think it's cool to do.
One thing that has changed from, we'll see how this works out. This is all brand new to me, but my shift has changed at work, and I'm going to be doing essentially what will be 4 12s. So I'll get an extra day off. I'm hoping that gives me a day in the shop, which, speaking of being jealous, I was always jealous of you for having that extra day to work on knives. And it looks like I have it. So I'm hoping that that's going to turn into a day strictly for me in the shop, and to be able to at least have one day a week where I can work on stuff.
That's amazing. What's up, Mallory Designs? What's going on?
Now, the only problem with it is the day is a rotating day, so it's a different day of the week every week. So, I mean, it doesn't really,
so you don't know what day that's going to be?
Well, I've plotted it out. It's basically, it started this week. I had Monday off. Next week it'll be Tuesday. Following week it'll be Wednesday. So I've plotted it out, but we'll see how it works out. But I'm hoping that I can use that day effectively and start maybe cranking out some more blades.
Yeah, I mean, that extra day is huge. Stevie said, any Ulus in the future?
Yeah, I actually have I have more of the discs available. Actually, they're in my garage. Another direction we're going, Scott, too, is to cut those out. The steel on those things are extremely tough. They're made for plowing the ground, so they're very, very tough. And you can't cut them with a bandsaw. You can't. The only way to really cut them is grind them, and or some sort of
like plasma tool.
Plasma cutter. So the last batch I did, I took it to a friend who cut them out with a plasma cutter, and that worked pretty well. I have actually 10 more discs, which produce about 10 blades each, in my garage. I just need to get them somewhere where I can take them to a plasma cutter and have them cut out.
There you go.
And or buy a plasma cutter.
Sure. Yeah. Go for it. That's easy.
While I'm making a Kydex sheath and what?
Yeah. Well, you're doing Kydex sheaths for everybody now. You can make the money for the plasma cutter.
But yeah, I've got the stuff for the Ulus. Again, for me, the biggest part of it is time. Like I said, I'm doing 55 hours a week at work right now. That's not going to change. With it going to 4 days, maybe that gives me one day in the garage, so that will help. But yeah, there's not enough of me to go around to get all the projects done I want.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, and I now have 2 days off during the week to do knives, and it's still never enough time.
Yeah.
The next step is heat treating, which I know you had mentioned, getting a heat treat oven and kind of dipping your toe into learning to do that. And I'm in the same boat. But it's not as easy as, okay, I'll just buy a kiln and be on my way.
Right.
It's you have to have a kiln, and then you have to find a way to cryo, and then you have to temper, and then you have to
plates and
fix
temper
all the mistakes that happen when they all bend and twist on you. And so it's just, again, you think you're buying something to help solve a problem, and you're just creating more problems that you have to solve.
Absolutely. And yeah, I can see that going into the future too. It's exactly what we say. It's like, okay, well, I'll just heat treat it here. It'll be easy. And yeah, you're having to get it ready, and then you got to quench it, and then you got to cryo it if you're going to cryo, and temper it, and make sure it's straight when it's done. And
and then each steel is a little different. Everybody has their own method, and it's just another learning thing, right? It's just another process that you have to do to learn. But I guess in the end, you're just working so much harder, but saving time instead of having to send it out to get heat treated and having to wait 2 to possibly 3 weeks to get it back.
Yes.
You can do it. It's just taking you a lot. It just takes a lot of work to do it.
Yes.
But once you learn the process and you have all those other tools and the space to store them and everything else, then
that's true.
But to get there is a lot. It's a lot of work to get there. Definitely a lot of work. And great reason to build a bigger shop. Thanks, John. I cannot build a bigger shop the way that I'm set up. I can't get any bigger than what I have right now, unfortunately. and it is small. Keith's got probably double the space that I do.
And I've really contemplated. So as of right now, if I had to, I could still park a car in the garage. It's not 100% dedicated as a shop. But I would like to build a center table and formally dedicate it as a shop and close the door to cars forever.
Yeah, unfortunately, that wall behind me is I'm basically sitting in my garage right now. So there's no car ever being parked in my garage because it's walled up with an air condition. And so then I have the other third of the garage. Actually, let's see. Yeah, it's only about a third of my garage is my shop. Chris Warren EDC has been here. He's seen my tiny little workspace, but it works. I set it up to where it works for me. One day I'll expand. I have to get a new house.
So when I got my garage, it was basically just a frame. They had gutted it out in order to sell the house and just left it gutted. So I put in all electrical. I put a gas line out there so I had heat. The forge, when I fire up the forge, I usually push it outside. I open the garage door and push it outside. Because if I run the forge in the garage, it becomes 100 degrees in my shop in about 10 minutes.
My garage is already 100 degrees before I even get started.
Well, depending on the season, mine can start out at 100 or minus 40.
Yeah. No, mine's 100 always. No. I don't have to worry about heating my garage down here. But I do have a portable air conditioner that I just put on me to blow just to cool me off down here in Florida. I don't have to worry about heating my garage. Oh, it's 30 out? Okay, I'm good. I'm fantastic. Let's go.
That was it was like in the low 40s this morning when I started. So
I walked out in there this morning to hit with like 80% humidity and like 80 degrees already this morning. So
too much for me. Nah, I'm too much of a northern guy.
So Trouble Bunny asked a great question. So where do you sell your knives, and what's the official company name? I don't think he has an official company. It's just Kieth the Knife Freak. But where can someone buy one?
Well, basically at this point, you just hit me up on Instagram or wherever you can find me. Basically on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook page. Not a big, believe it or not, even though it doesn't really show it on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook page, so just Instagram. I also have a YouTube page that I post periodically too, and yeah, we work it out one-on-one, and that's where you can get my stuff. I do have a local gun store that actually is on my route that I deliver to, and if I can get to the point where I can produce more knives, I might start selling them at that shop, which would be kind of cool. Because I would like to be able to sell to a local market that's not on the internet, but we'll see.
There you go. So just hit him up on Instagram. He does low numbers of knives and can get as many as he possibly can, but hit Kieth up. Yeah. Thanks, Tim B, for dropping that. That is awesome. Dropping the link. Kieth OnlyFans, wherever I go.
Absolutely. Nothing but feet picks and knives there.
Yeah, don't make him mad. He'll start ripping his shirt off. We already know that.
Yes. You know, that was so funny. I don't know what it is about that, but that generated more interest than anything I've ever done before.
That's what happens when you take the clothes off, man. You just get the numbers go up.
Hey, you know, in marketing 101, they said sex sells, and I don't know what was sexy about my shirt off, but
there you go. I think threatening people, let's go, come on, let's go. that might have something to do with it too.
I do have one video I posted on YouTube, and this has already been like 4 or 5 years ago, and I believe it's got, I'm trying to remember now, it's got like 50,000 views. And it was a video of a homemade fish scaler that we use. And people seem to like that video. They don't really interact with it much, but it's gotten a lot of views. And that's been my biggest video that's ever taken off, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, I don't try to figure out the algorithm stuff because I'll do videos and I'll just be like, it's probably just going to be normal. And all of a sudden it's gotten 5,000 views. And I don't understand why. It is just, I don't know. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. It's videos that I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. And then they get hardly any views. And then I'm just regular video, nothing special. And it's gotten thousands of views. And I'm just like, how? I don't understand. Tim B, Kieth needs to get a sweet maker's mark.
I do. I need to get a maker's mark, and that's also a work in progress, I think. I haven't really considered it yet, but I would like to get some sort of a maker's mark. Hey, if anybody's got any suggestions out there.
There you go. And it could just be your name, because I know, like my buddy Corey, he just puts his name on it. And a lot of custom makers, that's what they do. They just put their name. So you could just put, Kieth the Knife Freak. I don't know. You could do whatever you wanted. But yeah. Thanks, Brian. He highly recommends you check out Kieth's work. I have 3 and the grilling hook. Ooh, the grilling hooks are awesome. Talk about those. Where did that's something you're forging, right?
Yeah, so among the millions of directions I've went, I do have a forge and an anvil, and I do some forging. I haven't actually, well, I have forged some railroad spike knives. I don't really consider those usable knives, but I have forged some. But so I do have a forge and anvil. I took some spikes and pound them out and made some pigtail turning forks with them. And yeah, they're kind of cool. Again, it's just a whole separate, different hobby. I don't see myself going too far down the blacksmithing, forging area, but I do have that, and I've surprisingly used the forge and the anvil for other things than making knives, which once in a while comes in handy. But yeah, those railroad spike pigtail flippers are cool. I've made quite a few of them. It's surprising how hard they are to make. Forge and Fire makes that stuff look easy. Let me tell you what, it's not easy.
No.
I don't have a press and I don't have a power hammer or anything yet. It's all just my own hands. But man, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of hitting.
Yeah. So imagine doing a full knife like that.
And actually, depending on what the stock is that you start with, maybe easier or smaller. But pounding out like a railroad spike, and getting it thin. I would love to just count the strokes, the hammer strokes that it takes to get them to where they are, because it's a lot.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
The steel cools down. I don't know what they do different on TV or wherever else, but that steel cools down so much faster than it seems like they do, that you constantly have to run back into the forge and get it hot again. And yeah, it's a whole nother thing. And I primarily play with that more in the wintertime when it's cold, because like I said, if I run that thing in the summer, it's blazing hot.
Oh yeah, no way.
But
yeah, forging is completely different.
Yes.
Next level stuff.
Yeah. So,
and not something I would ever having a anvil is helpful. I sometimes wish I had one for like straightening blades or doing something like that. But yeah.
And I have a traditional anvil now, but actually my first quote unquote anvil is I had a railroad tie, and I went to a junkyard, or actually a salvage yard, and the guy had a great big chunk of steel, and it actually fit right in between the slats for the railroad tie, and I had him weld it to a railroad tie, and it turned out to be about 100 pounds, but it had a really nice flat surface on it. And at the time, I actually had a coal forge, and I found out that a coal forge, I spent as much time playing with fire as I did actually making something. And the problem with it was too, is once you got that thing hot, you just didn't turn it off and go home. It was hot for hours.
Oh yeah.
And you couldn't really leave it alone. And so, and for me in my limited time, I wanted to make stuff, not play with the coal and the fire. So I sold that, and I sold the anvil, or quote unquote anvil, that I had made all in a bundle to a guy. And then I picked up a gas forge, which I could turn on and off in an instant and play with that. So it's another option. I do have a bar of 1085, I think, or 1080. I can't remember. I got a bar of high carbon steel that someday might be pounded out into a knife, but kind of like where I'm going now with better materials, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to do different things, but I think that would be something that would be. I've thought about signing up to do the classes. There's a place about an hour away from me that did the classes, a weekend class of forging, and I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to. With me knowing the way I am, I don't want to get into something because then I might enjoy it too much, and then there you go. Brian F., I think you should just use freak as your maker's mark. Freak. How about freaking knives? There you go. Freaking knives. What is your favorite steel to work with?
Well, for me anyway, right now I've been doing a lot of AEBL for stainless. And then for my carbon steel, I've been doing a lot of 1095. Keeping it simple. There's so many different steels out there. And for the average guy, and I'm talking about myself included, the difference in steels is, to me, a lot of them is minimal. And, you know, for the average guy that's cutting, unless you're sitting in a shop cutting cardboard for 12 hours a day, you could really notice a difference in steels. But, you know, just a good steel, you know, get a good heat treat on it. And for the most part, I think we're good to go.
I have had the conversation many times about steels, and I think like AEB, there's nothing wrong with AEB in the custom world because we're able to push the heat treat a little higher. I think you even said you've gone up to like 62, 63 HRC with your AEBs, which is pushing that steel to a really great hardness level. And I think some people ask me, they push me, oh, you should try this steel or that steel, or you should work with S90V. And as much as I would love to do that, the cost of that is ridiculous, number one.
Yes.
Number two, at the end of the day, you're just holding the knife in your hand to say it's made out of S90V. You're never going to push that blade to the limit to what most people
well, and
won't.
Yeah, I watch, you know, I watch a lot of YouTube. I've seen the videos and that, and you know, you watch the guys doing the cut tests, and you know, they're comparing how many feet of cardboard they can cut or the rope or whatever, and you have, you know, this steel and it's cutting so many feet, and then the next steel that's better, well, it cuts 10 more feet. Like 10 feet, really? I mean,
yeah.
And again, I'm not going to sit down and cut cardboard until it dies, right? So
yeah,
again, it people get a little more excited about steel than I think they should, but I mean, obviously we have come a long way in the steel world, but I'm pretty happy with just some of the modern steels and how they perform, and you know, my estimation, they're pretty good.
Yeah, and I've had people on this on Meet the Maker, Evan Martin, who does not only makes knives, but he does like the chopping competitions, and he gets into doing that, and he has like, I forgot what it was, W4 or oh god, what was the name of the steel? Just nothing crazy steel, but you know, you can take a 1095 blade, and if it's heat treated properly, it's going to give you a really good edge retention and everything else with cutting test over other things, or the same as something else. It's all a matter of heat treat, and then you have blades geometries, and there's all these other different factors that come into play. Now that's in the custom world. In the production, that's a whole nother thing.
Yes.
Because your DVD, what's going on, man? I hope you are doing well, my friend. 440C would do for 99% of people's needs. Absolutely, Jim. I agree. But you know, the production world, they're heat treating hundreds to thousands of blades at one time. So the heat treat on those are going to be a little bit more inconsistent than 5 or 6 blades that you're heat treating at one time. So I don't know. It can be debated all night long. At the end of the day, you're just showing off to your friends to say, look, it says S90V on it.
Yes.
Which in the production world, okay, great, cool. That means a lot, because but like you just said, I'm not sitting there breaking down 100 feet of cardboard every day just to see how my knife holds up.
Absolutely.
You know, most people open an Amazon package on a daily basis, and they're just cutting tape. They're not cutting the actual cardboard.
But Trouble Bunny, I don't know if you were asking, but the Kardashians.
I'm glad you saw that.
I did see it. That was a piece of 1095 that I had left over from a knife, and it was big enough to make it. It was kind of on the order of the package hatchet that I was jealous. But I had a piece big enough, and I made that Kardashian, and I sent it over to Mitten State EDC, who put a handle on it. He said, put a handle on it, and I did, and or he did anyway. And apparently now it's going to 1931 Leatherworks, who is, I think, going to make a sheet for it. Maybe, I don't know. And then we're deciding what we're going to do with it. So at some point there might be a giveaway and or maybe auction it off for charity.
That would be awesome.
I have a little more 1095 steel if that's a thing, but
it can be a thing. Don't get them started on that PH word.
Right. But yeah, that's all that was. It was just a piece of scrap 1095, and I figured I could grind it out real quick, and I did it. Literally, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it, and with a single bevel, it was easy to grind in, and I did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's why she says, because they're good for leather working.
Yes.
So there you go.
Well,
Uh-oh. He said the thing that must not be named. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that, Byron. We're not talking about that Cheeto. Stop it. They're not dropping. There are no package hatchets. I'm done with package hatchets for a little while. You guys package hatted me out. I did like 12 of those things. No more. I'm done for a while. No, I'll make some more sometime. I have to get some steel in.
So Brian was going to add the awl to it, and then the holster is what the plan is. So I don't know what's happening with that. I made it and I showed it, and Brian contacted me and said, "Hey, you want to do a collab with it?" And I said, "Sure." I made it without a plan for it to begin with, and so I sent it to him, and he put some scales on it, and it's kind of grown into this thing, and I don't know where we're going with it, but it's going forward regardless. So
that's funny. It's funny how just something simple can turn into something bigger than what it needed to be. Or you're just like, it was just a little thing I did, and now all of a sudden people go crazy over them.
Yes.
I don't know. That's what the package hatchet was. That was like, it was just a fun little spare piece of steel I had laying around. And I'm like, that could be fun. I could do this. And then all of a sudden everybody was like, oh, I want one. And I'm like, oh, really? What? You want one of these? They're ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't know. You never know what's going to.
If I have to buy more steel to make more of those things, I will, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's like, I make a beautiful knife, and I'm like, look at this beautiful knife. And they're like, yeah, it's great. But that package hatchet you did. And I'm just like, what? What? No, that's not what we're talking about. These guys, the knife community is amazing and crazy all at the same time. So what you're saying is there's more package hatchets on the way. Nice. Yeah, I'm not saying there'll never be another one, Troy, but it might be a while before I did. Scott said package hatchets are fun. Yeah, for everybody else, not me.
Right.
You notice I don't have one. I do not have one. Tim B has like the super package hatchet that I did that has a pry bar and a bottle opener and the cutting edge. He's got the super one.
Well, I guess I'll have to make one for you, Scott, and send it to you.
Yeah, I'll take the Kardashian and then I'll send you a package hatchet.
There you go.
I have a little piece of Damascus that I was going to do a package hatchet out of. I'll send you that one.
Damascus patch. Now that would be something.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody would be jealous of that.
Yeah, I know. It's just something. I don't have one either, Scott. Oh, don't start. You're gonna make me feel bad. Gosh, I know. I've only made like 14 of them in total. Mattis Faction is the only channel member that has one, but he purchased it. He bought it. Ridiculous. So what's next for you, Kieth? What's going on? I know you have how many designs? 3 or 4 that you regularly do?
This has been my regular design. And I have done a few of those kitchen knives that I had on Instagram. I've done those. I still have, in fact, I actually have never finished. I have 2 pieces of Damascus for this little shop scalpel, this Gentry design, that could be finished at any time. And I really would like to finish those up. But as of right now, I'm pretty much, I get orders for knives periodically, and I can usually finish what people want from me as I am right now. So working on Kydex, I want to get that to where I can, produce a decent Kydex sheath, continue to make some more knives. If there's any profit left, that goes right back into making more knives. And at this point, just having fun out in the garage. Like I said, work is very much taken over most of my life. And so it's an escape for me to get out there and work on things. Making the Kiridashi was fun. Making knives for people. And my biggest thing is time. It's always time.
It's always time.
But again, starting this week, I'll have Tuesday off this week. And already Tuesday, I'm committed to putting new blades on my mom's lawnmower and my uncle's lawnmower.
It's funny how that happens.
Tuesday morning is already shot. But we'll see. Hopefully it'll be more time in the shop, and just, keep working on my skills, keep working on knives. Like I said, I think the next upgrade for me is going to finally buy just a nice jig, just to put in those bevels. I think that will save me a little more time and do a little more accurate grinding. The grinder itself can do bevels, but I think with a jig it would just be a little easier. So we're gonna go with that, and keep working on stuff. The Ulus could certainly be something that could be knocked out. Get back with my friend again, we'll take a morning or an afternoon and knock out a bunch of those, get them plasma cut out, and then those are relatively easy to work on and finish. So, and those sold pretty good. So, that's definitely in the future. And, yeah. And like I said, I would like to also be able to sell more locally, maybe at the gun shop. But I would like to not be quite so dependent on social media as an outlet. But we'll see.
Sell or to get the word out?
Yeah, to sell or to get the word out, or both.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the base of my sales right now, and there's nothing wrong with it, don't get me wrong, but it is the knife community, and I would like, to be able to branch out a little farther from there.
Yeah.
Just kind of
it's tough. It's tough. It's tough getting the word out in the beginning. Yeah. I told you, and I've said it on my channel many times. This was never my plan. This was never supposed to happen to the extent that it's happened, as far as being able to sell my knives and do this channel and everything else. I just created this so that I could get the word out about my knives. So hopefully I can make a couple knives, put them on my Etsy store, and maybe they'll sell. I never thought that I would be having, sellouts within seconds, or being able to have the success that I've had. But I want to be able to bring people on now and get some interest into what they're doing. Because there's people like you who are making really quality stuff that maybe people don't know about. Obviously, you are very involved in the knife community and in your local community with the safety, the deer, the hunting safety stuff and all that. So I'm sure you're known in your little local communities up there. But, over the far reaching, I know that's what you're trying to get, is the far reaching community to be able to purchase.
Yeah. And as you know, the thing is, it's kind of a two-edged sword. So, you know, like I said before, right now, with the limited time, I don't have the time to produce a lot. So I don't want to over advertise and oversell what I can't produce. So I've kind of been happy with where I'm at, but at the same time, looking into the future, even into retirement, if I can put like full time into this, at that point, I would definitely like to, you know, go forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, I think if you have something that you're passionate about, no matter what, it'll be successful because you're putting your passion, your heart, your soul into what you're doing. You believe in it. Then, you know, even if you're selling the maybe 3 or 4 blades you make in 1 or 2 months, that's a success.
Yes.
To keep the ball rolling. I never intended to make a living doing this. I just wanted to be able to make some money so I can go buy more steel and more handle material so I can continue to do it.
Yeah.
And more abrasives, which turns out that's the biggest that's the biggest thing you have to spend money on is your sandpaper and belts. So anybody who wants to get into knife making, prepare to spend a lot more on sandpaper and abrasives than you really thought you would. But
yeah,
that's where all your money goes right there.
Absolutely.
Someone once told me that, and I was like, what? No, you're kidding me. I want to buy a $1,200 grinder. And then I'm like, well, I just spent $1,200 in belts in a year. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing. So I hope that I hope you continue. I hope the new job, it sounds like you just need to settle into that schedule a little bit. And I know when I went down to 4 days and then I went into now I'm down to 3 days, I'm still kind of settling into that schedule.
Right.
Luckily, my workplace is absolutely amazing to be able to allow me to stay there and go down to 3 days, which I 100% do not. I don't take that for granted to be able to continually to have a steady income while also creating with the knives and being able to have that fun to do that too. And then I have like lulls where I could do extra stuff. Having extra time in the shop is really cool.
Yeah.
I was able to do the skeletonized gargoyles. I got those done in about 3 days. They're all boxed up, sitting behind me, ready to go on the Etsy store. Probably Wednesday, I'm probably going to drop them on the Etsy store. So guys, there'll be 2 gargoyles going on the Etsy store. So that was the plan with the skeletonized blades that I got water jetted. Was just if I had a lull where I didn't have any knives, or if I got done early, I could just whip out a couple of those. Yep. And I've been able to it's funny when you have a plan and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but it'd be awesome. And all of a sudden you're able to do it and you're like, whoa, it's working out. That's crazy. So, Donnie, what's going on? Donnie Bless.
Only one last thing to talk about real quick.
Well, I was saving the best for last.
We'll just get the quick origin story of the Dolica.
Okay, so
people want to know about what.
Well, we got to make sure everybody's aware of the Dolica King. So you guys, you know about the Dolica, and it all derives from Kieth, who gives us this cool plaque that is the certification of membership to the Dolica Club. And then you can't just go and buy one. It doesn't count. You have to get one sent to you. So what I don't know the history behind this, so I'm really interested because I am a member now. So what is the what's the Dolica thing?
So the Dolica. So yes, you just can't buy one. So
No.
this actually started with, believe it or not, Nick Shabazz. And at the time, he actually lived very near to me.
Oh, really?
And at the time when he was really producing a lot of videos, he was doing his Terrible Knives Live. And I don't know if you ever saw an episode of that or not, but he would go on live and he would review these terrible knives. And of course, his signature knife was the Z Hunter.
Yes.
So anyway, I actually had saw one of these at the dollar store and bought a couple and said, yeah, this is worthy of the Terrible Knives Live video.
Absolutely.
So I actually met up with him in person, had coffee with him, and I gave him this knife. And then
wait, Keith, wait. Batman mask on or off?
Batman mask off.
Okay,
nope.
That's where we're gonna stop. We're stopping there. That's it. So Keith knows. Keith knows. That's all. Okay. Okay. Time in. Go ahead.
I know. So anyway, I gave him this knife, and then I also picked up a knife from a party store. It wasn't a gas station. And that afternoon, he actually did an episode of Terrible Knives Live and featured both knives. And of course, the Dolica is a very similar copy to this knife here, which is the Spyderco Delica.
Yes.
And it became in the chat the Spyderco or the Dolica from the dollar store because it was $1. So
okay.
Dolica. And then I did customize a Dolica and put a Spidey hole on it. Cool. Yeah. But from that day forward, it was the Dolica, and then it just kind of progressed where people were saying they couldn't get one, and I sent it to them, and then it's like, okay, well, if you're going to get a Dolica, you need to have a certificate, and a certificate for it. And what happened is I sent them to all the reviewers. So obviously, Nick Shabazz was the original owner of the first Dolica. Awesome. And then it went to just about every reviewer has got one and done a review on them. Way back from Slicey Dicey days to Bees Blades, Tri-State EDC, Metal Complex, you name it, they've all got one. And they've done reviews on them. And if you go to their channels and search, you'll find the videos of them. Or go to my YouTube channel. I got a playlist with most of them. But yeah, it one of those things that got out of control. And
it's out of control.
I've sent, I would hate to admit this, but I probably sent hundreds of those away at no cost. So.
Keith, that's awesome. Yeah. I when you offered that to me, I was like, "What? Oh, that's awesome!" I'm 100% in awe and blessed that you would consider that. But I do have it sitting right here, and I will pull it out, and it's the most beautiful thing I have ever had. That is for sure.
Well, if you've ever not watched any of their histories now, but any of Nick Shabazz's Knives Lives, I encourage you to go watch the video where that was originally dubbed the Dolica. It's a good video, and in fact, the other knife that I got for him was actually even worse than the Dolica. But yeah,
yeah, the best moment of his life. Oh, I remember I unboxed mine. It was an amazing thing. And it still is an amazing, I don't know. I was at some kind of flea market type deal, and I think I sent you pictures of a whole table of small little Dolicas and the regular Dolicas and big Dolicas. I don't know. These people had, I don't know where I was, but so funny. Yeah. Did I lose you? No, you're there.
I'm here.
He's there. Yeah, these things are hilarious, and that's amazing. Yeah, I remember watching some of that Nick Shabazz stuff and just laughing out loud how funny that stuff was, just because of his reaction to that and how he would take it and be serious with it. when you knew it was just garbage. But
yeah,
but it's a fun little inside little thing. But
fun time.
I mean, I don't have a custom one. I've never thought about taking this apart and customizing it, but I cut down my red oak with my Dolica. How long did that take, Troy? Dolica is subject to Geneva Conventions as it is violation of the international law to transport a Dolica within 25 miles of the border. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's funny that you kind of met with Nick Shabazz.
Yeah, I was, and it's funny because I never knew that he was actually living literally within a few miles of me. Had no idea, and I had talked to him before, just on social media about different topics, and he's like, "Yeah, come down and we'll have coffee." And it was actually weeks before he moved, and he moved out to California, and he actually gave me a couple of knives that he couldn't take with him to California, and yeah, it was a good time. We had a good conversation and quite insightful. And like I said, afterwards he went and did his Terrible Knives Lives featuring both knives, and it was a good time.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I remember those times too, because that was like the first person that I really started to get into with that. The Dolica knife is that sort of defines, inspires.
Yeah, like I said, when I was looking for a replacement pocket knife that I had lost, it was the first time I ever actually considered it, and went on and started watching some YouTube videos about knives, because I was looking for a smaller knife, something with a pocket clip and everything, and started watching some reviews, which is the first time I ever done anything like that, and rumbled across his channel and watched some reviews, and he'd ever kill me if I knew it. But first time I saw his reviews, like, who in the heck is this idiot? Like, what is he talking about? But all of a sudden it started making sense. Like, yeah, centering, yeah, that's a real thing. I mean, they can actually make a knife that's centered.
Yep.
And that's when I got into that's when I started watching Instagram and started going on his lives, and then I got involved with more knife people, and that's when I just went right straight down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
and
that was
me too. I always carried a pocket knife, but I was never, up until then, I was never really conscious of it. I just carried it and used it, and but now I'm just, a dork, and it's got to be centered, and then I look at all the fine details, and
yeah. I mean, when I started getting into, I guess we could say, quality knives, and it was like, okay, well, I have to have what they're reviewing with. Like, okay, you're doing size comparison on a Rat 2. I need to get a Rat 2. So I got my Rat 2. I got a Dolica. I started to get all of these knives that I saw all of those people using, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. But and it's still awesome. I love my Rat 2. I keep it here. I use it for my size comparison now, just because you have to. Everybody knows it, so why not use it? And it's funny how that works, and you just get down that rabbit hole, and you can get lost. That's for sure. It could be overwhelming. You got to find your little niche of what you like to do and what you do. But yeah, I do appreciate this for everything that it is and isn't.
Mostly isn't, but
yeah, no, we won't talk about like little isn'ts, but it is it is amazing in all of its glory. That is for sure. That is for sure. I think it's awesome.
It's definitely become more than what I had anticipated it to become. That's for sure.
Well, I think KC is the only one who really still pushes it that I know of. I don't see anybody else really doing it, but KC has run with it, and hey, it keeps it on the map. It keeps it a thing. It keeps it alive.
The other thing, the dedicated package opener that a lot of people have, I made a lot of those. Those were from Coil Spring from F-150s, and then the one that Metal Complex has now, that was a railroad spike that was a one-off custom job I made for him, and that has a piece of 1095 forge welded into it for a harder blade. And I believe he still uses that today, which is kind of cool.
I think I saw him pull it out not too long ago. I try to keep up with him, but I have a hard time keeping up with all of his stuff that he does.
With everybody, and again, trying to do my own thing, not necessarily being a content provider or producer, but just trying to keep up with everybody else while I'm doing my own thing is difficult at best.
Yeah, when you start having your own channel, and you get serious about having your own channel, then you kind of have a hard time trying to keep up with everybody else's channel. And yeah. I do my best to pop into other things, but then I have the knife making, I have my family, I have content, I'm all over the place. So I do try to keep up with videos and keep track of everything. But I know there's some, like Metal Complex's lives, I don't really go into much anymore just because I can't keep up. The other night I tried to get in there and just say hey to everybody, and it's just hard to keep up with everybody.
Yeah.
But God love him, man. He's doing great. Nick Shabazz has stepped off a little bit doing his content, and he does stuff every here and there now.
Yep.
Which is sad because I used to love his content. Just the way that he planned everything out so flawlessly was really good.
Yes.
So I think that was like the benchmark for a lot of people.
Yes. Definitely set the bar high for everybody else, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And MC looks up to him too. Yeah. So it's awesome. So I just want to give everybody a few more minutes. We'll give you guys have any other questions for Kieth. And then I just have one last question for Kieth before we call it an evening.
Do it.
But yeah, what do you guys got? You guys have any questions for him? I have to admit I miss Batman Shabazz. Yeah, I do too. That voice and just the way that he delivers things. He did something with a laptop take, like he tore down a laptop and put it back together, which was interesting. But I like the knife content a little bit more.
Yeah, he looks better with the mask on.
You almost got me, Kieth. You almost got me. We need a bad knife reviewer, someone to point out the just bad knife designs. Well, MC's doing that right now. He got that big 20-something pound of box of confiscated stuff like Nick would do, and he's been going through that. Thanks, Trouble Bunny. Thank you very much. Shout out to Mrs. Knife Freak. Thank you. I'm jealous of all the excellent lunches.
This is nice. 95% of what happens behind me, because she takes care of me, makes the best lunches in the world, as Troy points out, and puts up with my shenanigans here in the shop all day. Come home from work and run out in the garage for an hour instead of spending time with her. So
yeah, mine is the same. Although she doesn't make my lunches, I make my own. But she has supported me through all of this craziness, and she has. And I want to say that I have inspired her, because she's an artist, and she has started to do some art, and she's going to be starting her own little side like hustle on Etsy and stuff, selling some of her art and stuff. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I've been sharing some of her stuff on my story. So some of that stuff's going to be for sale here coming soon. So really cool stuff. Yeah, she's but she is definitely supportive and pushes me through all this nonsense of knife making that I have created. But it's been a heck of a journey, that is for sure. Here's to spouses who encourage us to pick up even more dangerous hobbies as they increase our life insurance policy.
Today's ouchie.
Yeah.
Hand sanding that kitchen knife, and even then I poked myself with it, and it wasn't even sharp yet.
Oh yeah, I caught myself the other day with one, that's for sure. All right, so here's the question. I know after my first knife, when I got done making my first knife, what was that feeling for you when you were done with your first knife you ever created? How did that make you feel?
Actually, disappointed. Believe it or not. So again, it was this great big honking chunk of steel, and I was never a big. I've always appreciated smaller knives than bigger knives, and I got the design off the internet, the pattern, and in my head I envisioned a sleek, light knife. And when I was done, it's like I got this great big freaking pry bar that has slightly an edge on it. And while I was happy with completing it, I was not satisfied with the product. And I think that's what pushed me to do more. Because like, you can do better than this. This is something nobody wants, but I bet I can make one that somebody will want. And that's when I got a smaller file that was much thinner and started something that could actually cut something instead of using it as a chisel. And then when I got this one finished, I made several more like this, but that's when okay, I can do this and I can make some decent quality knives. Something that somebody would actually want to use.
Yeah.
And
but
then
that's the driving factor, though. It's at the end of the day when you finish a project, and maybe back then you finished that product, but you were done with it. Maybe you weren't 100% happy with it, and you wanted it to be. You knew you could do better.
Yeah.
But then now, when you finish a product, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm done," even though we all know we could always do more.
Yeah. And you know this too. You know every single minuscule flaw in the knife, and it's never finished. At some point, you just say, "I'm done," and you move on. But you notice every little flaw. You know where the grinder went too deep, and you know where even stuff like, when I do the mosaic pins, and there'll be a small little gap or something, and as you're sanding it, you're looking right at that little gap, and that's all you focus on. And
oh yeah, and you can't let it go.
And you put it in somebody else's hand, and they never even see it. It doesn't even go on the radar. So it's always, the struggle is about yourself. My goal isn't to make a knife as good as Gentry or BP. My goal is to make a better knife than I did the last time.
Yep.
And that's a good place to be, I think.
That's an absolutely perfect place to be. I made a comment. I was at a knife meeting with a bunch of knife makers, and I made a comment about chasing the perfect blade. And these guys have been doing it a lot longer than I have, and they all kind of looked at me, and they all kind of gave me this little cheeky grin, because they knew there's no such thing. And if you're chasing that, you're chasing something you'll never be able to accomplish, because there'll always be something that you think you could do better at.
Absolutely.
And that's what drives you on to the next project and motivates you to become better. Because even Gentry Customs, I'm sure we look at his knives and we're like, they're drop dead gorgeous, perfect, beautiful. But I know he looks at them and he's seeing the same things that we see in our work,
Yes.
where it's like, oh man, I wish I would have done that better, or it has this, it has that. It's just, it's eye of the beholder. And for me, when I get done with a project, that's that sense of accomplishment.
Yes.
When you take a raw material and you work it and twist it and grind it and do all the fun things that we do, and you turn it in, now you have a finished product. That there's no better feeling than that.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if it's knife making, leather working, you know, to be able to create something really cool like that. I'm sure the maker, Trouble Bunny, looks at this and she sees all the flaws. I see it and I'm like, this is awesome. And the flaws, if they're considered flaws, are what makes it special. And I think at the end of the day, when you're making something with your hands, that's the accomplishment.
Absolutely.
So that's always how I feel. You know, I don't care what you do. If you get out and you do something, you're doing more than half of these people nowadays that are just creating maybe digital stuff, which is still an art. I have been wrestling with the idea of having designers on. And I call this the maker space because it's all about making. But maybe I should be thinking about designing too, but there's a difference, I feel like, between the designing aspect and then creating something with your actual hands.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Just my 2 cents, which is worth nothing, but this was awesome. Do you guys have any other questions for Kieth?
If not, just hit me up on Instagram.
Yeah, if you're looking for a Kieth the Knife Freak original, Kieth _the_ Knife Freak, all underscores separating every word, right?
Yes.
Though that, just hit him up. You can just search Kieth the Knife Freak. There's only one and only. But yeah, hit him up. He'll chat with you. He does a Warncliffe. He does the Hunter. He'll do Kardashians.
I got a sheep.
Ulus are coming. They make great pizza cutters, for what I understand.
You want to see it real quick? I can get one real quick.
I would love to see one.
Hold on 1 sec. I'll grab you one.
All right. I think the camera's been freezing, so I don't know. Hopefully you guys have been able to see. On my end, he's been frozen almost the whole time. So hopefully you guys have been able to see him. He does a sax design too, Jim. That's awesome. Kieth is strong with the force. Yes, he is strong with the force. Guys, next weekend, while we wait for Kieth to come back, next Sunday, I'm going to do the 3K fun giveaway. We're going to do a bunch of giveaways. I have this guy I want to give away, the Axial Knives Shift. Really stinking cool. I also got in some Tucson's that I want to give away. So we're going to be doing a couple, probably 3 bundle pack giveaways where there'll be at least 1 to 2 knives in there. So it'll be a fun. So next week, hopefully you guys can see that. There it is. That thing is stinking cool.
So this was made out of a disc. So it already had the radius to it. And then pretty much just cleaned it up and cut it out this way and attached some handles to it and just ground the bevels on it and it's good to go. Well,
that cutting out that's cut out for the handle is the hardest part.
It's a pain in the neck, especially in this area here. A Dremel tool kind of gets in there, but I haven't found the best way to do it yet. It just takes some time. And like I said, this material that they make these discs out of is just it's so tough. It does not sand easily. It's, I don't know. It's
Well, if you're
weird.
getting it plasma cut too, I have
Yeah.
found that when they plasma cut it, the edges of the cutting edge, wherever they cut, is like really a pain in the butt to clean up too.
But yeah, these are fun projects, and they work really well. A couple of going to be different designs when I do the next run. This area in here is going to get rounded a little bit more this way because it just kind of feels a little funny right here.
Yeah.
So this is going to get rounded more, and I think just this point here, I'm going to round off a little bit. So as you're holding it, it's a little more rounded.
That's awesome. Yep, those will be fun.
They make fun choppers.
There you go. The best pizza cutter in the business.
And it's recycling, so I figure that's good for Mother Earth.
There you go. And he's making his own wood. We didn't even talk about that, but
stabilizing wood. So yeah, I finally got a vacuum tank, and I'm stabilizing my own wood. So so far that's going real well. In fact, if you watch on Instagram, I've got 3 pieces of oak that I'm doing a test with, and one piece is raw, one piece has been stabilized, and the other piece has been treated with boiled linseed oil and then just a coat of wicked wax on it. And they are staying out in the elements 24/7 until I don't know, forever, and we'll just see how they hold up. So
yeah, I think putting them out there for a week, that would be interesting to see, and then keep checking in on them and seeing how they hold up.
I've been posting. I'm going to try to post fairly regularly. They've been outside now for about 2 weeks.
Okay.
There will be occasional videos on them, but yeah, I've tried to keep up in posting. Couple of weeks so far, there hasn't been really any noticeable change, but I will say they've been rained on a ton. They've gotten plenty of water, so. But currently, they're sitting on my front porch where they can get a little more sun. Last week they were in the back, which was a little more shade. But yeah, they're going to be hanging out outside every day. They're out there 24/7, and we'll see what happens with them.
That's awesome. That's cool. I look forward to that because it's interesting to see the difference with those things. But I think that is cool. I know a guy here who started to do stabilizing his own materials. I have to hit him up because I have a couple pieces of wood that I purchased that it's not stabilized, but it's kind of like a hardwood. But I'm afraid that if they get too much moisture on them, they'll start swelling and really start messing up the handles. So I don't use it, which is sad. But
yeah.
Anyway,
my way, I'll throw them in the tank for you.
Yeah. Cactus juice or linseed. No, well, if he's going to be stabilizing, he probably uses the cactus juice.
He uses a cactus juice. Bought a gallon of the cactus juice and using it. And the only thing I'll have to talk to somebody. I've done a lot because I had it in there, so I did a lot of wood already. A lot of the walnut net, and the cactus juice is actually stained a little bit now. It was clear, and now it looks like a dark iced tea. I don't picking up color from the wood, but my question is, if I put more wood in there, is that color going to go back into other wood? So
yeah, that was my understanding. I always thought every time you used it, you had to switch it out. You couldn't continue to reuse it. But I never tried to stabilize my own materials before, so I don't really know.
The best of my information is as long as you don't cure it, it's good for up to a year. So, and you keep it in the refrigerator. You don't want it to get warm. That's what cures it, is getting warm. That's why when you're done, when it comes out of the vacuum tank, you put it in a low temperature oven and actually cure it.
Gotcha.
Which in my little toaster oven, it's the dehydration mode, which is at 190 degrees for 2 hours.
Here you go. Look, he's already got it locked in.
It's locked in. And I've got a lot of wood. I had a bunch, so I have a couple of friends that are woodworkers, and even a custom gun builder from the gun shop that was giving me pieces of beautiful walnut from pieces that he was making gun stocks with. So I have a almost limitless supply of beautiful hardwood. And so when I got the stabilizer, I got enough scale material to last me for years to come, already stabilized.
That's cool.
But
That is
yeah,
good.
it's interesting. And that one was actually relatively painless, Scott, believe it or not.
Really?
Just stabilize it and I'm done, and there was no issues. It didn't cause more problems than it started out with. So
That's awesome. Yeah, that's another step. See, that's just another step to being completely self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Yep. One day, right?
That one's an easy one. I'll help you through that one. That one's easy.
Yeah. Again, I don't have space for all that.
That's the issue, though. Then you got to store the pot in the little vacuum pump. So
Yeah, I'm good. I'll send you some stuff and then I'll pay you to do it.
send me some stuff, and I'll work it out for you.
Yeah. All right. Sounds great. All right, Kieth, thank you so much for popping in here. That was an awesome chat. I hope you guys all appreciated hanging out here with Kieth the Knife Freak, learning a little bit more about where he's coming from, what he's doing, and what he will be doing in the future. I think we got a lot of cool stuff coming from Kieth the Knife Freak here with his schedule, and a lot of more stuff coming out of there. We thank Kieth. Kieth is awesome, member of the community, does a lot that you guys probably don't know about, but he does a lot of stuff on the back end of things. Super supportive of a lot of people in the community and is a pillar in our community. So thank you, Kieth. You are awesome. And I 100% Dolica salute to you, my friend. I Dolica salute to Kieth the Knife Freak. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you guys appreciated this one. Please remember, always subscribe, like, leave a comment, or not. The choice is always yours. We'll see you on the next one. Later.